Aloha! This is Lahaina Lee with a special Maui Real Estate Advisor update for June 28th, 2024. Now I know for many of you, yesterday was debate day. That would be the first big presidential debate of 2024. But out here in the middle of the Pacific, another debate is taking top priority. That would be the debate to repeal or not repeal rental rights for apartment-zoned short-term rentals. Just like the rest of the country, our little island is becoming more and more polarized. The burning issue and the current debate is over whether or not to roll back the law that allows some 7,000 plus apartment-zoned condominiums to do short-term rental. If you're watching or listening to this, you're probably well aware of our situation here on Maui. For years, we have had a housing crisis. The crisis was heightened by the Lahaina and Kula fires back in August of 2023. In response to outcries for housing, especially in West Maui, the Maui mayor put forth a bill to repeal the right of condominiums in certain apartment zones to do short-term rental with the aim of converting those short-term rental condos into long-term rentals or owner-occupied condos. Now, the current owners of those condos, and most of those in this tourism-dependent economy who are dependent on those short-term rentals, as you might imagine, are generally opposed to losing the legal right to rent those condos. The mayor's original contention was that all of these condominium complexes were originally built as workforce housing. However, a review of the original declarations for all of the West Side condominium complexes revealed that that was not the case. They were, in fact, purpose-built for short-term rental and have always had the right to use that property for vacation rentals. That right was codified into law in ordinances adopted in 2014 and 2016. Earlier this week, the Maui County Planning Commission heard testimony from 130 of the 200 Maui County residents who signed up to testify in person in front of the committee on the topic of rolling back these short-term rentals. Each person was limited to 3 minutes of testimony. The testimony was highly emotional and went on for hours well into the evening. Eventually, the Planning Commission deferred any action and will hear additional testimony scheduled for July 9. According to estimates from news organizations and friends who diligently watched the entire proceeding, there were a minority of those testifying, somewhere between 30 and 40%, who were in favor of the bill to roll back the STRs, leaving 60 to 70% of those testifying as opposed to rolling back the STRs. Those testifying on both sides made powerful cases, often in very emotional testimony. Many of those testifying against the rollback cited the devastating financial impact such a law would have on them personally. Sometimes it represented the entire income that they had for retirement, and usually it was from just a single condo. Others discussed the broader economic impact on the people on Maui and the island economy. Earlier on the news, I'd heard one of the county council members refer to these condos all being owned by wealthy out-of-state owners that were second, third, or fourth homes. Well, about 85% of those condos are owned by people with out-of-state mailing addresses. But all of the testimony that I saw of people against the rollback lived here on Maui. Many of us, including me, have made the case that these condos aren't suitable for long-term residences because they are so small, with the one-bedroom units, which are over 50% of them, averaging less than 600 square feet with little or no storage and only one parking space. However, full disclosure, we lived in an 830 square foot condo with only one parking space for 17 years until it was destroyed by the fire in Lahaina. And, according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau, about half of the households in Lahaina had 2 or fewer people. So while some of these would work for a number of people, the economic side, especially the average monthly maintenance fee of $1,800 plus the property taxes, plus utilities, plus assessments by many of the associations to maintain infrastructure like plumbing or to repair spalling, would still be obstacles. Additionally, at a current selling price of just under $1 million, even with a significant reduction in value, which some people are estimating that could be between 13 to as much as 30%, these properties still wouldn't be affordable for most people. Those in favor of the rollback leaned less on the economic argument and more, as is the case in many Native American communities, on the cultural impact of the tourism economy and the resulting impact on the Aina, including that caused by the proliferation of condominiums and hotels filling up the beaches. They did cite the economic impact, so I don't want to downplay that, the way that it impacted their standard of living because of where they were forced to live due to some of the highest real estate prices in the country. But even in the polarized atmosphere of those expressing concern that either the continuation or the rollback of these STRs posed an existential threat to them, there was one point of agreement. The agreement is the need for affordable, dignified housing here on Maui. In comments on why we're facing a housing crisis, Mayor Bisson cited, quote, a myriad of complex issues that have challenged our community for decades. He went on to state, this is a consequence we cannot and should not accept. Our system is broken and long overdue for change. Hallelujah! For decades, it's been somewhere between difficult and impossible for builders to build workforce housing. The U.S. Census Bureau noted that housing growth on Maui was essentially zero from 2018 to 2022. I remember reading articles in the Maui News about projects being rejected by the Maui County Council. One in particular that stood out was the county rejected a project because it was only going to be 70% workforce. That's a word that passes for affordable here on Maui. Only 70%. Other friends have cited trying to work through the county permitting process that in one case took 2 years to add a simple ADU unit onto a property they had. Another friend of mine has been waiting, well over 2 years for a permit to just simply finish the interior of a unit that he owns. Changes in the system that would create more dignified, livable housing, make the island cleaner and less congested would be welcomed by a majority of people living here. That's going to require political will on the part of our leaders and, of course, money. And where does the county get money from? Well, usually comes from taxes. It comes from taxes like real property tax, general excise tax, the Maui County transient accommodation tax, and of course, all the taxes that all of us pay on a day-to-day basis just living and working here. One study by Paul Brubaker, who is considered by many to be the top economist in the state of Hawaii, showed that discontinuing short-term rental of these condos would cost the county as much as $137 million in tax revenue. In addition, the county would lose over 14,000 jobs and $1.67 billion in tourism money. Another study reported that only $91.8 million would be lost in property taxes and only 7,800 jobs would be lost. With that in mind, the chair of the County Council Housing and Land Use Committee is seeking an unbiased study and has budgeted $300,000 for that study, and it's to be completed by the end of the year. That actually seems like a good idea. So the question that arises is, with the need to have so much tax money available to invest in affordable housing, why would we erode such a huge amount from our tax base in an attempt to create workforce housing at complexes under which the very land they sit on is eroding back into the ocean. And what's happening in the current real estate market? Well, according to the data, it's still a seller's market for single-family homes. A closer look at the data shows that the price point right around $1 million and maybe a little over is really the hot part of the market where inventory is short. In the higher price points, there is abundant inventory and buyers may have an opportunity, especially at certain price points on certain parts of the island. For condominiums, it's a different story. 2 months ago, I was still reporting there were about 4 months of inventory and it was still a seller's market. And it was. That's past tense. In the last couple of months, condo buying has slowed and more inventory has come to market. So we now have over 10 months of condo inventory for both short-term rentals and residential condos. That makes it officially a buyer's market. So if you're a condominium owner, you might be wondering, should I sell or should I hold? Or if you're considering buying a condo in Maui now, you might be wondering, should I buy or should I wait? Well, both situations, I guess all of these situations, it really depends on you and your specific case, your situation. And what is that little voice in your head telling you? The Aloha Group Maui team is skilled at listening to you and helping you interpret the data and the trends. So if you have questions, call us. And if you have answers, certainly call us. You can always reach out to us by text or email or drop some comments down below. And remember, nobody knows Maui real estate like Aloha Group Maui. From Not Lahaina, this is Lahaina Lee saying, Aloha.